Good morning. Today, I want to share with you a message of hope, protection, and divine assurance from Psalm 91. This powerful chapter of the Bible is not just a collection of words. It is a heartfelt prayer that can uplift our spirits, strengthen our faith, and remind us that we are never alone. Each new morning brings fresh challenges and uncertainties, but when we begin our day with faith and prayer, we step into God's divine protection. Psalm 91 is a beautiful reminder that no matter what we face, God is our refuge and fortress. He watches over us, shields us from harm, and covers us with His love. The psalm speaks of dangers, arrows that fly by day, pestilence that stalks in darkness, and enemies that surround us. But in the midst of these troubles, God promises His faithful protection. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. What a powerful assurance. When we trust in God, we walk with confidence, knowing that His angels are commanded to guard us in all our ways. As we step into a new day, let's embrace this promise. Let us start our mornings by seeking God's presence, placing our worries in His hands, and surrendering our plans to His will. In doing so, we invite His peace into our hearts, His strength into our actions, and His wisdom into our decisions. May Psalm 91 be our daily prayer, our shield against fear, and our guide toward a life of faith and trust in the Almighty. Psalm 91 is a profound and comforting passage that speaks of divine protection and refuge. It reassures believers that God is their ultimate shelter, a safe haven in times of trouble. The imagery used in this psalm is powerful, painting a vivid picture of God as a mighty fortress, a protective shield, and a loving guardian. The words carry a deep sense of security, offering peace to those who trust in Him. When the psalmist declares that those who dwell in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty, it conveys the idea of closeness to God. This closeness is not merely a physical nearness, but a spiritual connection, an intimate relationship with the Creator who watches over His people. The concept of divine refuge is central to the faith of many believers. It signifies a place of safety where no harm can reach, a stronghold where one is protected from all dangers. In the Old Testament, God is often referred to as a refuge, a place where people can run to in times of distress. The cities of refuge established in ancient Israel were physical representations of this divine protection, offering safety to those who sought asylum. Similarly, Psalm 91 presents God as the ultimate refuge, not just for the body but for the soul. This means that no matter what external threats may arise, those who put their trust in God can rest in His care, knowing that He will cover them with His wings. The psalmist uses the metaphor of a bird sheltering its young under its wings to describe God's protection. This is an image of warmth, love, and security, showing that God's care is both powerful and tender. The wings symbolize His presence, wrapping around His children like a shield. Just as a mother bird hides her chicks from predators, God shelters His people from the dangers of the world. This divine covering extends beyond physical threats. It includes emotional, spiritual, and mental protection. When fear and anxiety attempt to overwhelm the heart, God's refuge provides peace. When doubts and uncertainties arise, His presence offers assurance. This is the kind of protection that goes beyond what human hands can provide. It is an all-encompassing safeguard that preserves the soul. The idea of divine refuge is deeply tied to the concept of trust. To fully experience God's protection, one must dwell in His presence, abide in His love, and trust in His power. The psalmist declares that those who trust in God will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day. This statement acknowledges that dangers exist, but it also proclaims that God's protection is greater than any threat. Nighttime fears represent the unseen, the unknown dangers that lurk in darkness. The arrows that fly by day symbolize the direct attacks, the visible struggles that come unexpectedly. Yet, in both situations, The one who abides in God's presence remains secure. This assurance is not based on the absence of trouble, but on the presence of God in the midst of trouble. Throughout history, countless individuals have found comfort in Psalm 91 during times of crisis. Soldiers have recited it on battlefields, families have prayed it over their homes, and individuals facing sickness have held onto its promises. The words of this psalm have been a source of strength for those who feel vulnerable, reminding them that God is a strong tower, a mighty fortress that cannot be shaken. The power of these words lies in their truth. God is indeed a refuge for those who seek him. His faithfulness is a shield, his promises a fortress, and his love an unbreakable covering. The psalmist also speaks of deliverance from the snare of the fowler and the deadly pestilence. These symbols represent hidden dangers and widespread calamities. The snare of the fowler is a trap set by an enemy, an unseen danger waiting to ensnare the unsuspecting. Deadly pestilence refers to diseases and plagues that can strike unexpectedly. Yet, the psalm proclaims that God rescues his people from such dangers. This does not mean that difficulties will never come, but it means that God's hand is always at work, guiding, protecting, and delivering. There are times when he prevents harm from reaching his children, and there are times when he walks with them through the storm, ensuring that they are not consumed by it. The assurance of divine refuge is also reflected in the promise that 1,000 may fall at one side, 10,000 at the right hand, but it will not come near. This powerful imagery reinforces the idea that God's protection is beyond human comprehension. In a world filled with uncertainties, conflicts, and trials, this promise is a reminder that God's presence creates a shield that cannot be penetrated by evil. Even when others may fall under the weight of difficulties, those who trust in God are upheld by his strength. This does not mean that believers are exempt from trials, but it means that in the midst of chaos, they have a security that cannot be taken away. The psalmist further emphasizes that no harm will befall those who have made the Lord their dwelling place. This statement reflects the intimate connection between God and his people. To make the Lord one's dwelling place means to live in constant communion with him, to seek his presence daily, and to rest in his promises. This is not a temporary refuge, but a lifelong abiding in God. Just as a child finds security in a loving parent's arms, the believer finds unshakable peace in God's presence. This dwelling in God's presence brings confidence, removing fear and replacing it with faith. The mention of angels in Psalm 91 highlights another aspect of divine protection. God commands his angels to guard his people in all their ways, lifting them up so that they do not stumble. Angels are God's messengers, his agents of protection, sent to watch over those who belong to him. Throughout Scripture, there are numerous accounts of angels intervening to protect and guide God's people. From Daniel in the lion's den to Peter being freed from prison, divine intervention through angels has been a testament to God's faithfulness. The presence of angels reminds believers that they are not alone in their journey. They're surrounded by heavenly guardians assigned to ensure their well-being. The psalm also speaks of authority over the enemy. It declares that the faithful will tread upon the lion and the serpent, representing victory over spiritual adversaries. These symbols of danger and deception are overcome through the power of God. This promise reinforces the truth that God's refuge is not only about protection, but also about empowerment. Those who abide in him are given strength to overcome trials, wisdom to navigate challenges, and courage to stand firm against the forces that seek to harm them. The protection God provides is not passive. It is active, equipping his people to walk in victory. The psalmist expresses God's personal promise to those who love him. God declares that because his people love him, he will deliver them, set them on high, answer them when they call, and be with them in trouble. This is a deeply personal declaration from God himself, revealing his heart for those who trust in him. His protection is not distant or impersonal. It is intimate and relational. He does not merely watch from afar. He is present, involved, and deeply concerned about the well-being of his people. The concept of divine refuge is a recurring theme throughout Scripture. From the Psalms to the teachings of Jesus, the message remains the same. God is a safe haven for those who seek Him. He is the unshakable rock in the midst of storms, the strong tower that provides shelter, the loving Father who never abandons His children. Those who place their trust in Him can rest in the assurance that they are never alone. No matter what challenges arise, no matter what dangers threaten, the presence of God remains constant, unwavering, and ever-present.